Three, two, one, and welcome back to Chasin the Racin.
Brought to you by OMG Racing, Bennetts and JCT. I did that without my phone. JCT Truck and Trailer Rental. Is that right?
That's right.
I'm going to double check my phone. Grace sends us a list here. So, hold it, we are sponsored by JCT Truck Trailer Rental. I will get that fluent at some point. And this episode, this individual episode, is brought to you yet again by Josh Davies Racing. They are in British Supersport. I'm looking forward to getting their testing done. I'm trying to think where we are on the timeline. We're a couple of weeks in, so a lot's probably already shifted. And tonight, yet again, we are joined by Joe Ackroyd. How are we doing, son?
I'm good, thank you.
You're good. Nice cup of tea there.
It's a coffee.
It's a coffee. That's the second time I've done that.
I don't know if they got Yorkshire tea in the house, so I had to go with a safe bet and get a coffee.
It is a perfect time to introduce that is not a Yorkshire tea, that's a Scottish coffee. I've done that again. Absolutely. There you go. So, and tonight's guest is Niall Mackenzie, aka Mad Mark. How the hell are we?
We're all good. The tea, it'll be Aldi. Every product in the kitchen is from Aldi, so if it's including the coffee, so if
it's not a bad brew.
Okay,
not a bad brew,
okay. Yeah, made it all with my unfair hands.
Yeah. I tell you what, you had a little bit of a shiver on when I said Mad Mark there. Is that a bit of PTSD kicking in?
No, they put Mad Mark. Yeah, Mark's been in my life now, 2020, so nearly 3 years, and. We touched on it earlier, and the thing about Matt, everybody says, "Oh, Mad Mark, how's he getting on?" But it's so weird because he's like, it is an alter ego.
You even talk about it like a celebrity talks about a character. I cannot be Mad Mark until I put the bird shit stained t-shirt on, the glasses, the moustache. I look in the mirror, and then I am Mark. Anyone that hasn't seen Mad Mark, he's basically, and he does sound and appear and is hideous, but everything he talks about, everything Mad Mark does or talks about has happened in the Mackenzies' lives. It's basically just a sort of collection of incidents over the years since I've been involved and the boys have been involved in racing with riders' dads. Or racer dads, and I am one. So my wife Jan will tell you, I know exactly who Man Mark is. I've lived with him for the last 30 years. So but for everyone else, there's Niall Mackenzie and there's Mad Mark. But yeah, everything is based on a true story and has facts. And there are additional parts in the videos added for dramatic reconstructions.
Yeah. But it is all based on a true story, and these events have been real.
Is it Taylor's brainchild, that? Because I imagine it's come out of...
Well, long before Mad Mark appeared, we've always observed the Mad Dads. So through since they started racing, because everyone asked me quite a lot what it's like to be a parent of a racer, and what I did early on. When I started being around, especially when the boys started racing, I was around other dads. I made mental notes of how not to be, because I was. It's like, I think it's the same in any kids' sport. When the parents are involved, they are a nightmare. Football seems to be the worst. We were involved in football quite a lot, and I still talk to a lot of football dads. And pitch side on weekends is horrendous because it just takes over. And I was aware of that feeling early on when the boys started racing, but I was looking at all these other dads running around like headless chickens, and people I knew and friends and sensible people in normal life, and then they get to the racing and they turn into these nutcases, and I could feel that emotion inside, and I kept checking myself because I'd seen all the dads over the years and decided I wouldn't do what they did as much as I could control it. So, but it's all based on true events and true stories that we've witnessed. Incredible. And Mad Mark came from them, so we didn't really know what to call him, but obviously very good friends with Neil Hodgson, and we've all been around. We've known Neil, I think, early 90s as a family. Got to know him really well, and his dad's called Mark. Neil's always called him Mad Mark. So and he is the ultimate. He has been there and done it all. And when Mad Mark appeared in our lives in 2020, Neil we've seen quite a lot of him over the first year of lockdown, and we asked permission if we could
use Mad Mark. He calls him Mad Mark.
How did you sell that pitch to him? We're going to do this.
Well, no, we're very. Yeah.
He'd love that, didn't he?
We're very close, yeah. And he's always called his dad Mad Mark, so he was the man. It just fitted. It was just the perfect. We didn't really even have to think about it. It was like, who is it? Who's the maddest dad?
Out of everything that you've achieved, and this is a small list for the listeners who haven't tuned in and know who Niall Mackenzie is, 3-time British champion, MotoGP rider. Is it fair to say Mad Mark is your biggest achievement? And that includes your kids.
I would say yes, and I'll confirm that, because I say that quite often now. If I'm lucky enough and there's any money left for me to get any kind of headstone when I pass, then I know on there there'll be nothing about racing, about British Championships or MotoGP or any of these
sporting
other
achievements.
It'll be here lies Mad Mark, because now I walk through any race paddock and hey Mark, Mad Mark, and
do you get sick of it? Do you think,
no, not one bit. Yeah, it's brilliant because he's comedy and it's all based on comedy and it's brilliant. And if anyone's laughing, they're paying attention or they get the humour, then, which they obviously do. And I get asked. It used to be that I stopped racing, boys started racing, I got asked about their racing. That's gone now. It's only when's the next episode of Mad Mark? When's Mad Mark coming back? And there's lots of ideas thrown at me in the process. But yeah, it's whatever. I think it's part of my life now. I think it always will be. So
for you to do 10 minutes of that, how long does it actually take you to film it? Because I can't, like, I've spent quite a lot of time with Taylor and it's fucking carnage.
Yeah.
And you're just laughing from the moment you start doing anything. So how you keep a straight face?
We don't have a script. we write things down as and when, so we've always got a list. And then I think most of it is done when Taylor and I get into bed at night, not together. But, you know that when you're just waiting to go to sleep and you go, oh my god. And then when I want, I'll message him and say, oh, I've just thought of this, I can't wait. And then he'll do the same. It's just so that's how it works. So we'll make notes, but actually filming an episode or a little sketch or whatever doesn't take that long when we can stop laughing, because I'll walk around the corner, I'll go away like this, come around the corner and Mark, and he'll just go, oh my god. So probably the most time consuming bit is him going, oh, he's laughing on camera when he's supposed to be asking me things, so we have to start again and do a lot of takes. So
if you haven't watched Rob, please go, because the delivery is absolutely priceless. It's just like, well, what we do is we say it to charity and we just don't give them a single penny. And it's like, no, but the charity's there, the Man Up Mackenzie Fund, and it's like, oh, the honesty of it all, it's like, oh, it's the Wet White Fund or something like that, and you're just going, well, and this the clips of like Taylor. It's brilliantly put together. Absolutely,
it is the weirdest thing, because, like I say, when I get dressed, I'm not good at ad-libbing or thinking off the top of my head. When I'm Mad Mark and I'm speaking to anyone, these things just come. It's just ridiculous. I don't know where it comes from. So
you are the alter ego of motorcycle racing. It's brilliant though, isn't it?
I understand nothing about acting or any of that, but I totally get it. I couldn't be anyone. Well, we do have another character actually that might appear at some point. But we've had it. So there's something in the pipeline which is good, and he's obviously it's a motorcycle industry person. Who you'll totally get.
He's laughing already while he's doing this.
But and it's Taylor's idea. But yeah, it's a real 50-50 thing with.
He passed the blame immediately there. It's all Taylor's idea. He's
a perfect fall guy.
Yeah, you'll get this guy. He we've thought about it for actually quite a few years, and we didn't have enough bottle just to put him out there. But because you'll all know one of these people, and anyway, he'll appear hopefully in 2024.
Oh, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
But I tell you what, I was just flicking through. I wasn't being rude looking at me forward. I'm looking at like the last time you let us on your drive was when me and Chrissy were here on episode 58 and we interviewed both your sons. And what a bit of crack that was. You've done a lot of work here since COVID and everything in that regard. But yet again, I must get this out there. It's 7:00 at night on a Sunday and you've let us on your drive. Thank you so much, because not many people would do that, period.
Yeah, it's not a case of letting you on. Everyone's welcome here. It's not a problem. You're here. look, I haven't actually been in the studio before. I stuck my head in last time, so it was the boys that had the privilege. So and watched loads of stuff, obviously, and seen everyone sitting here, lots of friends and rivals and racers and famous people, and so yeah, nice to be here, and great to have Chrissy here. I'm so chuffed that I had the privilege of having the man on my drive. But when Sister Grace got in touch and says, "Would you like to be part of it?" Brothers, just tell me when, get here, and I'll do what I'm told.
Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. But I'll tell you what, we'll drop the Mad Mark thing for a brief second. Yeah. But I would like to talk about, was your dad a Mad Mark? Let's talk about when you started.
No, he wasn't. No, I had quite unusual upbringing. My dad passed away when I was 13. He was an older dad, so he was in his early 70s then. So it was me and my mum, basically. My dad had a life before my family. He was an engineer in India for 23 years. So spent a lot of time out there. Got on a boat early in his life, got to India just as a junior engineer and spent his time out there. Married out there, English girl, had 3 other sons. Came back, decline of the British Empire, late 40s, early 50s. And the marriage kind of fell apart. He ended up in central Scotland, from Inverness originally.
Right.
Met my mum out and about, and they got married 59. I appeared in 61, and that was it. But he'd given himself a good hammering when he was in India, because the British Empire was at its peak, and they had a good life out there. He worked hard, played hard, and hammered himself a bit. So in his early 70s, it took its toll a bit. So, but we had a good 13 years together. He was interested in cars, not so much bikes, I think maybe in his early days. But yeah, I had a lot of love and good upbringing. But me and my mum left on their own at that point, so that's where it all started. So no madness.
Was your love for bikes before you were 13, or was it after your dad's passing?
It was. I suppose it was always in there, but I had no connection. I've got a picture of me at the fair in Aberdeen. We call it the shows in Scotland, the travelling fair. And I've got a picture of me on a little motorbike going round, and it didn't go in, it just went spinning round, and you got off, and that was it. So that's my first memory, and I had no real love or connection. But as for many of us, I had some friends that I went to school with, certainly secondary school, and around that time, probably just after 13, 14, they had bikes because they had a bit of a small holding, and we used to go and watch them and be very jealous, and then hoping that I'd maybe get to have a go on one at some point, which happened. And then at that point, totally addicted and obsessed. But where it came from, I don't know, but it was possibly because I was shit at everything else, like football, rugby, couldn't swim very well, all of the stuff that all the other cool kids could do. I couldn't. I was always one of the gang, really. I had friends at school and never really had. I loved school, but I didn't excel at anything. Schoolwork, I was okay. I was reasonably academic. Didn't go off the rails when my dad passed away, but I was kind of less attentive and would probably have been more kind of focused and told to be more focused. So my mum was quite lenient. She brought me up well, but she kind of gave me pretty much a free rein. So I got involved in bikes, and at that age, obviously, it's when you're skidding about in the road and stuff, it's not legal. So she kind of did her best, but turned a blind eye. But yeah, friends from school I got interested in bikes through, and that was it. And I guess for the same yourselves, you look back and you think, oh yeah, that was it, the first time I ever rode a bike, or I was being propelled without pedaling. It was like, it was that moment, and never looked back.
It's not, to say it's not easy for, I can imagine it wasn't easy for a single mum to try and sort of support and provide any stable base for you to start motorbike racing. It's
didn't actually think about that at the time.
No, you don't, do you? No. But it's just listening to that, I'm just thinking that's it's a tall order, isn't it? It must have been very difficult.
It'd be a tall order now. It was all doable, because if it happened to me, it could happen to anyone. So I mean, if we fast forward basically from 13 to 19, by 19 I had a a licence. I was a labourer at Scottish Power, digging holes, and perfectly happy doing that. Probably in my head thinking I'll hopefully have something better one day, but I didn't really have a... Education didn't take me anywhere. I didn't get an apprenticeship. I left school at 16. But at 19, got myself a 350 LC, or when I was 18, and it was basically begged, borrowed and steal to get a deposit down to get it. Not to go racing, but to ride on the road. But my friends that I got involved with at school were racing because they were from a racing family, so they basically encouraged me to start a bit of proddy racing at Knockhill.
And you skipped motocross? Like
yes.
You skipped all of that straight on the tarmac?
Did a little bit of trials, just kind of playing around mainly, and a little bit of schoolboy club trials with my friends that would chuck the bike in. I had a TL125, which is the worst trials bike you could ever imagine. It wasn't at the time. People had Beamish Suzukis and TY Yamahas, and I got a TL125, which is a 125 full stroke and completely useless, but looked quite nice, and I rode that around. Probably it's one of these that, because it was so shit, it taught me how to ride better and harder, and because it was so bad. But yeah, that's where the kind of the any kind of feel before that came from, I guess.
So you was 19 when you got that LC?
18 turned, got it in 1980, which was when I was 18, and 1981 started racing in the March of 81.
So you'd say it was quite late on that you got into the sport, but back then, was that classed as late on?
It wasn't. You could race at 16 then, so
right.
Yeah, some of my contemporaries had already started racing and were racing, the ones that maybe did have money or sponsors or whatever, but it's a really cheesy story, but it was me and my mum in a council semi, and got the bike. It was a brand new bike, and for some reason it was an amazing bike out the box. It was one of these, they were all over the place, and my bike was it went.
Were you with anyone when you started that went on to do anything similar to what you're doing now? Because I always think about like where we've started, and I'm sure when Taz and Taylor started, there were names that it's just how evolution, isn't it? Is there anyone that you came across?
Not in Scotland, not that exact year. A few years later, Steve Islop came along. He was a year younger than me, so like 84, I became aware of him, and he grew up in a biking family. I knew his brother Gary actually got killed at Silith a few years, 82, beginning 82, I think. So Steve Islop was the only one really around that time.
Because he was Hoik.
He was Hoik.
And you're in Bennetts.
No, I'm in the middle. I'm in Denny, which is in between Glasgow and Edinburgh. So father was from Inverness, but
that's still
in the middle.
country miles. You make it sound like you're Castle Donington here when every rider's around the corner. But that Scotland's a big place.
But crucially close to Knockhill, and if there was no racetrack in Scotland, there was no Knockhill, which was half an hour from where I was, and that was a bit of a magnet. Always getting drawn up there either to watch or to dream about riding around or racing around, and that was just the hub for all the Scottish racers of the 80s that started there.
How long was it before you actually went somewhere other than Knockhill?
Well,
good question. It was I started beginning of 81, and that season I raced at Carnaby, which is no longer, but is there, and another racetrack that doesn't exist anymore called Silith, which is just in Cumbria over the border. So they were kind of they were doable. In first year I raced, I chucked my bike in my friend's van, so it was me and the bike basically, and friends helping me out, just taking me to club meetings they were going to, which was amazing. There was no funds for me to pay or go. I obviously ran the bike, the bike was mine, but they had space in their van, and as club racers do, so it was amazing. So it was like being a factory rider, chucking bike in the van on a Friday night or Saturday, and wheel it out, sleep in their van, and race and go home.
How serious was it then for you?
Well, I thought I loved it. Best club racing's just the best days of your lives, and you don't realise at the time, but you're having the buzz. You're racing. You're not scared of dying, or you just want to ride the wheels off your bike. You're having a few beers at night. You're trying to chase girls, and it's all happening there, and it's so exciting. You go away on a Friday night, come back on a Sunday, and there's so many stories to tell. So, how serious was it? Well, I in between having all the fun, I was deadly serious about. I mean, I was never grumpy if I didn't win, but when I was sitting there, I'm thinking I want to, especially as I kind of went quite good straight away, so I got a feel for it, and so if my next result wasn't as good as the previous one, then I was pretty gutted. So, but I thought everybody was the same. I was totally obsessed with the job and thinking how I can get better or where I can maybe move on to. But I thought everyone must be like that, but they weren't.
Is that including your friends? Did you go out with that group?
Including my friends. Yeah, they went racing, and because I had nothing, so everything I kind of was making happen. Their father raced, Jimmy Ray, and my friends Stuart Ray and Alistair Ray. Jimmy provided. They were on TZs at that time, so they had a couple of bikes each and a big Fiat Iveco van, so they had everything. So, but they were my heroes when I started racing, because they were racing. They had flash leathers and race bikes and a big van, and it was amazing. And for me, they were really good. I started in a different class because I started in the proddy class, but immediately started going good. But then they got girlfriends and they got married quite young, and they kind of moved on.
The dreaded trap.
Yeah, and they also worked for their old man, so they had responsibilities to that. Where I was kind of a bit more of a free spirit and a free range. And the biggest favour they ever did, and it wasn't pleasant at the time, was end of year one. They said, so how are you getting to racing next year? And I thought, well, I'll just carry on. I'll just be going with them. And they said, Jimmy's not so sure, the dad. And I was totally gutted. I was devastated. Filled up, as they told me, and went away and had a bit of a chat with myself and realised shit was serious. But it was the right thing to do. I just took it for granted that would keep going. But best thing, because then without realising, then you're suddenly like, okay, plan B, and find the van, find a way to make this happen, get some people to help you, and then it went from there. And it's only you look back, you think, oh yeah, that's why that all happened. But at the time, it was a massive kick in the bollocks, and I thought, that's not fair. But it was totally fair. So yeah.
So at 19, you're becoming your own man.
Yes.
How was your mother coping with this at this point?
Well, like I said, she just kind of gave me a free rein. She said, just be careful, son. Don't go too fast, and just be really careful.
The sweet lies. Just slight off.
and until my boys started racing, I had no clue that parents actually were concerned about their kids. I didn't get it at all. I was so selfish in many ways, obsessed.
So he hasn't got kids.
I'm a kid myself, man.
Well, yeah, you are, and maybe you don't have to rush into anything. But it's only you realise it's your own flesh and blood. You're supposed to look after them and not give them dangerous things to do. So I obviously forced my kids into it. But yeah, so I didn't get what my mum. She didn't really show a lot of concern. She was just, but I understand now. She was probably off her head with it, but anyway, she was really good. But she after my dad passed away, she had a good social. She had lots of friends, and she was working. She also worked for Scottish Power, so she was busy, and I was okay. And I think as long as I was happy and doing something in my life, she was all right. But she was incredible, really.
Well, I'm not being funny. You're not going out drinking, you're not doing drinks and drugs and everything like that. You know what I mean? It's a different way. Yeah,
when your kids have got a focus or something that you know that you can almost use as a tool against them to keep them in line as well. It's a powerful thing, isn't it? And you'd sooner see them applying themselves to something.
100%. I had really good friends that helped me racing, and when their kids got a bit older, they wanted to go motocross racing. And then William Feeney, he was called, his son Harpo was a really good motocrosser. But his dad said between 15 and 25, young William was totally obsessed with it. He says, and career didn't quite work out. He said, but the best investment ever. Spent a fortune going racing in motocross bikes, but boys especially, they're full of testosterone. They want to do exciting things, they want to do something, they want to get out there and do whatever. And if they've got a focus and it channels it into a sport or whatever, then why not? Because otherwise you always find something to give you a bit of a buzz.
What age were you when things started becoming apparent that it wasn't just something you enjoyed doing, and that some opportunities started to come your way?
When did the fun stop?
The fun stopped.
Well, we had that conversation, didn't we? About
It's an interesting... No, because we did that on a previous one. It's a bit like you go from drinking, having a great laugh, you're like, right, shoulders are up, then you go...
Club racing. Yeah. Club racing is the best time, isn't it?
And the fun, it's a different kind of fun, isn't it? We still all love it. We still enjoy it, but then... When did the fun stop for you?
Yeah, well, the fun stopped exactly, and I remember exactly when it stopped. So my career, I was
April 22nd.
March 1987 on a Sunday night. I don't know the exact date, and it stopped, and then it never really became. Cadbury's Boost years were good, but it never really became fun after that because reality struck. So if we kind of fill in that gap, 81 started racing, an amazing time. In 1983, I quit my job and I started making it happen as a profession.
Right.
Fast forward, HRC signed me at the end of 86. Which is mad. It's ridiculous.
What were you doing in 86 for HRC to took a contract? And you have to forgive.
I totally get that. You guys are...
I was born in 89.
Children.
We can't
not even around there. So in 1986, I was riding in 250 GPs. Skull Bandit Suzuki team, the official Suzuki team, let me have a one-off ride at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone on a 500 Suzuki. There's backstory behind that, but anyway, they let me ride this bike, and I finished 7th at Silverstone in the first 500.
Holy crap!
So then their rider Paul Lewis got injured the same day, so it was only ever going to be one ride. So then they said, Sweden next weekend, rider's injured, do you want to ride there? So I rode it again, I finished 7th again, built a bit of momentum, and they said, can you do the last one, which is in Misano? So first qualifying.
What age are you at this point?
Yeah, so 86. I was 25, turned 25, and
who were you on the grid with that year then?
Well, they just finished the story. They then set me to Misano. First qualifying, qualified pole, and then ended up third on the grid. So it was Eddie Lawson, Wayne Gardner, me, Randy Momola, that bunch. So it was just that's where the HRC thing came from, which was
understandably sorry.
Well,
the best. Sorry for interrupting, but that's the best. You nearly skipped that really important part of the story.
Just 87.
Just skip that. Hold on.
Well, yeah, but 350 Brody bike to HRC. Something had to happen in between, but that was basically in the space of 4 weeks that happened, and then it was. The HRC had never heard of me 4 weeks before, so...
They probably never heard of Scotland, never mind of yourself, man. You know what I mean? At this point,
they hadn't. And,
Did you... As a 25, 26 shot... Or how old did you say you were?
25, yeah.
Had your head rolled off with that? Or were you able to take it all sort of in your stride?
The thing, like you were asking about being serious, and it was like... It happened so quickly, when I just went with it, and I thought, maybe this is meant to be, and just kept going. And so,
they weren't easy bikes to ride either, were they?
Well, they weren't, but it felt quite easy. Well, the Suzuki though, the thing with Suzuki, and this was because the Suzuki wasn't competitive, hadn't been competitive all year, and suddenly I started running at the front. But it wasn't as bad as everyone thought, so it can only have been down to the riders that were on it. Because honestly, I come from a 250, never sat in 500 before. It's a square 4 at that time. The others were V4s, and this was still a square 4. So the reason it wasn't competitive was it wasn't fast enough, but it was nice to ride. And Silverstone, it rained, so I was on Dunlop tyres, which were probably the best tyres, probably better than the Michelins at that point. So that gave me a good result. Sweden's very flowing, so it worked okay there. And Misano's the same. Misano went the opposite way then. It suited the Suzuki, and it was on Dunlops and I think the Dunlops were also better than everyone thought they were, because all the Spencers, Lawsons, Gardners were on Michelins, but the Dunlops weren't that bad, and I was on Dunlops. And I think the combination of the bike and the tyres and everything, just timing, isn't it?
It sounds like a very stereotypical Suzuki.
Yeah, very much so.
They've made a chassis that works and is rideable, but the engine's just...
carbon fibre chassis, so it was way ahead of its time. It was a Seba Geigy carbon fibre monocoque thing. Best factory engine, but square four, so it lacked a bit of horsepower, but it was easy to ride. It wasn't an animal, or I would have been upside down.
But they were the unridables, weren't they? That is the era.
Well, that year after, 87 onwards, then I got on an unrideable, and then that's when the problem started. But just to get back to your, when did it stop becoming fun? So, Misano thing happened. HRC said, "Can you come to Japan?" I tested Spencer's bike at Suzuka, never seen the place before. Weirdly went really fast. Next day, I did 2 days there. Next day they signed me, went home with a contract. First Grand Prix the next year in 87 was Suzuka. First Japanese Grand Prix ever. Qualified on pole with the HRC, so everyone. So until that point, my career just been just a laugh and amazing. Pole position. Well, I'll just win the World Championship. Race day, it rained, and I'd never ridden it in the rain before. Anyway, got to last lap, and I got up to third. Last lap, I jumped off it. Stupidly, it was my fault. Thought someone was on my tail. There was no one there. I just tucked the front 3 corners from the end. Got back to the garage, still think, oh well, I'm having a laugh. Nobody was speaking to me. HRC were not happy, and then I realised, oh shit, yeah, I'm getting paid now. That was in Japan. I should have been on the podium. I had massive responsibilities, and everyone was just like looking at the floor. Whereas before, I was just their best mate, but I wasn't anymore, and I wasn't the next day either. And it was like they wanted an explanation, and suddenly I went, "Oh shit!" Yeah.
Did you get hauled into a meeting then?
No, it was Japanese. They don't say a lot, but you can read them, so they're not aggressive or hard on you, but they're just not saying anything. But when they're happy, you can tell they're happy. But they were not happy, and they said, what happened? That you shouldn't have done that. That's not part of the plan. And it wasn't like, I feel awful. There's always another race. It was like, So that was a turning point.
That was the day it just went.
That was the day, and I thought, this is not as much fun as I thought it was going to be.
I bet it was a long flight back from there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot of thought, because up until that point, the whole career, 5 or 6 years, had just been a dream, really, and it was just it was happening. I worked hard to make it happen, but I've been in the right place at the right time and given opportunities. But so,
if you don't mind me saying, you've just sat you've sat there, and it's just been almost borderline blasé, if you don't mind me asking, saying even. It's just like, I've done this, I've got to that point, I've done that. It's like, who was with you at this point? Did you have any, a friend with any guidance? Was it literally,
Mad Mark was growing away.
No, but it's interesting. You think about all these opportunities in sport now, when you need people, your lads have got you. You know what I mean? You've learned from mistakes, and even people in British Talent Cup, even bloody pit biking now, someone holding your hand. Yeah. But were you solely by yourself?
Not solely by myself. The team I was riding for in GPs in 85 and 86 was it was Armstrong team. Armstrong were CCM. Right. CCM were CCM. Armstrong, which is an automotive company, bought them over for a few years, kept building bikes under their name, built some race bikes. So I was on Rotax Armstrongs. The team manager there who chose me for the team was Chas Mortimer, very experienced Grand Prix rider from 60s, 70s, multiple TT winner, lots of Grand Prix rostrums. So he was running that team. So he taught me a lot about life and racing. So 85, 86, I spent these 2 seasons with him. So I had him to kind of guide me, if you like. So he was there. He was kind of my rock. The other guy that looked after me pretty much all my career was a man called Robert Fernall, who used to run Donington Park. He was managing MD at Donington Park for a lot of years, and he just became a friend. There's never anything official, but he was just there because he was in the sport and he understood the politics and stuff. So he was a friend. Chaz ran the team. So these 2 guys were 2 people that I trusted and looked up to, and they did their best to look after me.
Did they have any involvement when you went across to Honda then?
Sort of. Well, so Chaz was really keen that I rode the Suzuki, because the Suzuki thing went well, so they put a contract in front of me, or a letter of intent, which I signed and then reneged on. And Chaz didn't think that was a good idea. But at the time, I thought, well, Honda are interested. Rightly or wrongly, I thought maybe the biggest, the best, they build fast bikes. Freddie Spencer's my hero. Chance to get to ride for Honda. I had no clue, really, but I just thought on paper it looked like quite a good thing to do. And he said, I'm not sure. Long term, maybe just do the Suzuki thing, and you've kind of signed the contract. I thought, well, I'll take my chances. So went off to Japan. And then I upset a lot of people. But it was in my heart all along. I knew it was going to upset people, and it wasn't. Suzuki were not happy at all. There was quite a lot of wrangling went on for a few months. It's quite interesting because Honda, I've got a file that was sent to me anonymously a few years ago, and there's a file of letters between Suzuki and Honda, and as far as I was concerned, Suzuki went, I'll carry on then, and I signed for Honda, but it wasn't that simple. There's a file of letters between the Japanese that basically Suzuki said, we've got Mackenzie under contract. Mr. Aguma at HRC, who was the boss at the time, he said, we haven't approached Mackenzie. It's a third. They totally denied they asked me to go to Japan and ride the bike. And they weren't telling any lies because it was a third party that organised it. But he had said you need to get Mackenzie to Japan, try him, he's got a bit of potential, and they did, and I signed the contract. Just before I signed the contract, they asked me about the Suzuki thing in Japan at HRC, and I told them what I had signed, and they said okay. And Mr. Guma rang up Mr. Ito at Suzuki, and there was lots of Japanese, lots of sucking the teeth, and for a short 5 minutes conversation, Mr. Guma put the phone down, sat down, said, everything's okay. Mr. Ito says it's okay for you to ride for Honda, but you never ride the Suzuki again. He doesn't like you anymore. Well, they basically sorted it out in one phone call. So, but this pile of paperwork I've got is incredible because it goes backwards and forwards, and so I obviously caused a lot of chaos.
Do you regret the Honda decision, or do you look back and think you should have done it differently?
I don't know. If hindsight's great, if I knew then what I know now about riding and preparation and I don't know, mental attitude and everything, be great. But the trick is for any young rider is sussing it out when you're young and making it happen and finding a way. And I did okay. I had a great career. Could have been better. Could have been a lot worse. But so yeah, I had a lot of good years in Grand Prix with factory teams, and you kind of did the best I could, really. So no, I don't regret it. The Suzuki thing was the new bike was coming. It was a V4, but it was a couple of years away from being competitive. So I was jumping straight on to the best bike on the grid. So I had to do it.
And how unrideable was unrideable?
Well, some days it was okay. So I mean, I finished 5th in the World Championship that year, so it wasn't a bad season. I finished on the podium at Salzburg Ring, had quite a lot of 4th and 5th, so I was doing okay. But I felt like it could have been better. Some weekends it was totally unrideable, and I didn't know why. Other weekends it was okay, but that was just down to my lack of experience, really. Wayne Gardner won the World Championship on the same bike that year. I had the same bike. Tyres, maybe not the same tyres every weekend because it was a bit of an A list and B list at that time, depending where you were in the pecking order.
Right.
But it was, it's down to the riders. There's riders like Mick Doohan come along kind of the same way I have, and he's made it happen and won 5 World Championships. So it's being smart and doing everything right and getting the job sorted right, and so I can't complain.
I'm
you could just see
this is amazing.
It's like being at a cinema. You could just taking it all in. Taking it all in, yeah. How unrideable was unrideable though? What was the problem with it? Because when they talk about
well, at the time, the thing, the unrideable years were 87 to kind of 94, 95. Unleaded fuel came along then that softened things off a little bit. Electronics were better, but
they're unridables now, but at the time that was what they were. So you ever think you then get up in the morning and think, oh my god, I've got to ride an unrideable again. That was what everyone was riding, and if you were good enough, you got to the end and you got a result and you won a championship. So no one knew they were unridables. They were just what they were. There was nothing better.
That Duke video that they brought out of them, they just looked to just high side you for no reason. For absolutely no reason.
Did all of that. It all gets back to the two-stroke era, and I don't know how many two-strokes you've ridden. You've ridden two-strokes, obviously, and the thing with two-stroke is,
when they're going great.
There's all of that. There's all of that. So you've got to have, you've still got to get good guys preparing them. But the thing with two-stroke is you're anticipating when you open the throttle, nothing happens. So you've always got, as you're entering the corner or making your way to the apex, it's at that point. With a four-stroke, you're connected all the time, whether it's engine braking, mid-corner, going into corner, open the throttle, it goes a bit quicker, close the throttle, it comes in. So you're totally connected to the rear wheel with the four-stroke, always have been. With a two-stroke, you're not. There's no engine braking. And then, if you're kind of off the throttle heading into a corner, if you wait till you get to the apex and open the throttle, nothing happens till you're halfway out the corner. So with a two-stroke, 125, 250, whatever, as you're heading towards the apex, you've got to start opening the throttle, and you've got to anticipate when you're going to get some power, or at least the connection. And then once you've got a connection, then you're thinking about when's the power coming, because it's only 1,000 or a couple of thousand RPM of power. So you got that. It's all about that timing.
Yeah.
And then again, depending on your carburation or your guy you've got setting up the bike, how good it is, but there's never a connection. So it's always about anticipating and being ahead of your engine. And it's still the same with two strokes if you're lucky enough to ride any 250s or whatever. 500 just amplifies everything, because
I would love to.
When you finally got the connection, and then you're driving, and then you've got to time it so you're using that tiny power band, because that you have to use that power, and you want that power just when you're upright. But the tricky bit is timing it so you kind of start driving, start accelerating, but you have to get it off the edge of the tyre when you get the big power, or there's that tiny bit of tyre and all your horsepower in one hit doesn't work.
Can't imagine riding one of them in the wet. It must just have been awful in the wet.
Yeah, that again, some of that, obviously getting it upright's the key, being smooth, getting the gearing right, getting carburation right, because wet weather and not good conditions upsets all the carburation in two strokes. So we were talking about jets and needles, and you don't have a laptop doing engine mapping and stuff, so it's all over the place as well, and there's water getting in, so it does make it tricky.
But like you said, that was at the time, you didn't know any better. They were the elite bikes. This is the top of the food chain. You know what I mean? This is the MotoGP like now. But let's be honest, you must watch MotoGP or Moto1 and go, I'm a proper bloke. You lot have got a piece of piss. Come on.
Well,
put it this way, you're too modest to say it, but I think the rest of the world looks at everyone from their own rideable days and goes, they were blokes. It's like though, isn't it?
Because when did like traction come in?
Yeah, late 90s there was some. It was basically with 500 GP bikes. Late 90s they started messing about with just retarding the ignition when you open the throttle. So they had some kind of data logging going on and early stuff, basic stuff, and 5 or 6 channels of stuff you could do, and watching suspension RPM, and then the traction thing was just basically retarding the ignition, so you could kind of open the throttle, and you're not going to get that massive bang of power. Just getting back there to finish off the unrideable thing, you never got up in the morning and thought, it didn't matter how many times you got blasted to the moon, you still get back on it as long as everything worked, then you go. But Wayne Gardner described it perfectly, because if you're doing laps, whether it's in practice or testing, and then you're getting away with it, and your brain just says, this time I'll just open it just a little bit more, just a little bit earlier, or just give it a little bit more gas, but you're on such fine margins, and then that so many times it's just do that, your brain tells you to do it, and then there's silence, and why is there silence? And there's silence because you've been disconnected from the bike, and it literally happened that quick.
And
So you never even felt it. Oh, it's going. It was
sometimes you'd hear the engine note change. The revs would just go through the roof. So you knew you're either it's going to be a massive slide, it's going to pick up, but when it was silence, then you knew you were in the air. And you lads have crashed bikes. It's fractions of a second, but there is that point where you think, oh shit, I've crashed. Yeah. But you also got enough time to think, everything's perfect, my body's in perfect working order. Will it be in 2 seconds time? So
it's weird, that, isn't it?
It's the weirdest thing. So everything goes in slow motion, and it was like that a lot in 500s, and depending on how you were in the air, that was the thing. You think, oh, please let me be okay.
Did you ever ride in groups or ride with particular... I'm just thinking of Randy Mamola straight away. Yeah. Did you ever ride with people on those unridables thinking, I do not want to be anywhere fucking near him? Because who was the person that you would
Christian Sarin. Sarin.
Do you want time to think about that answer?
I guarantee all my era, you put together, I don't know, Gardner, Mamola... Freddie Spencer. Christian took Freddie Spencer out on more than one occasion. Eddie Lawson. We all loved him. Super fast Frenchman. Didn't hang off a lot, and that was part of the problem. Ridiculously fast. He won one 500 Grand Prix, but he did win the 250 World Championship. He was fast. He was Fabio Quartararo of his day, but lovely guy, but completely nuts. And he was the guy that he's had me off more than one occasion. And you're just riding with him, and sometimes he didn't fall off, but he quite often did, and he would always take someone with him, and he was just totally committed. He wasn't a dirty rider, but he was hard to race with because he knew he was on the edge or going to be over the edge.
You've always raced with one person that made you nervous to be around him. You always think, oh, fucking on him anywhere near me.
Your mind goes.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
This is as close I'm getting to you ever again. So
just high side into you.
Yeah.
I must ask, right? You are the perfect candidate for this question. Do you ever have high side dreams?
Oh yeah,
It is people who don't race bikes don't understand this, but your high side dreams must be.
Oh, you must end up on a ceiling.
Mate, you must have a dream. Wake up, get a cup of tea, sit back down, and then get the reaction.
I bet you ate Jan up, don't you, when you have them?
Yeah. Less now. Less now, but I've been lying in the sun. Funnily enough, with Wade Gardner, in the sun outside, and he flipping jumped, and I says, "Oh, tuck the front," because I used to tuck the front. He went, "No, it's high side." We were in Yugoslavia. We were an afternoon off, and for some reason we were lying on some grassy bank. I don't know why. And he went, "Whoa."
Tuck the front.
Because back then I tucked the front pretty much as a high side, but he was yeah.
But did you always have the same? Because I have the high side ones, but it's always the same high side It's the same dream. It's not. It never changes.
Yeah.
And it's bizarre.
As I say, I got less now. Occasionally, the weirdest dream I have now is because I stopped racing because I wasn't out of love. I just needed to stop. But I don't want to race again. But the dreams I have now is I'm actually got to go back and race, and that's not a good feeling. And sometimes I'm naked. I'm naked and I've got to go and race, and that is like my two worst night. Well, I don't want to race again. So if someone said you've got to go and do a championship, that would be my worst nightmare. But
really,
but also, if you had to walk down the high street naked, randomly, that's be your worst thing you'd want to do. So I get the combination of both of these, and it's not.
Do you genuinely feel like that about racing?
Yeah,
it's almost.
Because
like
when
fear, almost.
Yeah, I don't want to. I love riding, and I instruct on track days, and I ride to my limit, and I ride okay. I just don't want to race anyone anymore, and that was the best thing. I stopped when I was 39. I wanted to stop, just got to the end of the season and quit, and zero regrets. And most frequently asked question is, well, when you can ride okay like you can, why do you want to race? And it's just. It's not like that. I don't need the Michael Rutter, John McGuinness. It's just amazing. They're just amazing. They love it, and you're either fully in, and want to do it, and will ride for free just to ride and race, or you're not. And I think you either one way or another. And Taylor can still ride a bike fast, but he doesn't want to race, and same thing.
I was going to ask you about that, but I don't want to go on, Dom. Sorry.
Go on.
Oh no, it's just it's interesting that because the riding and racing thing's totally different. Is it because you don't want to dial off 5%?
Yeah,
Is it because if you went racing, you have to be willing?
Yes, yeah. It's all of that. Because when I raced, I think from day one it was 100% till my last race ended 2000 in BSB, and so I have come back and done a few odd races. I did the Daft Pro-Am thing a few years ago, and I won one race at Silverstone, and then I did another one at Knockhill, and I won that, and I flipping scared myself every lap, but I couldn't because I was nearly off the thing, and I managed to win. It's only a slow 250 LC Proddy race, but I had so many moments. And I was during the race going, "What are you doing? You need to just stop." And it was just, I got caught out by thinking, "Oh yeah, someone suggested do these daft races," and I think, "Oh yeah, that'd be good. That'd be a bit of fun." And then you suddenly realise you're sitting on the BSB grid, and Annabelle's up there with the lights, thinking, "What am I looking at you again for with these lights? And I've got to go and do this thing." And then you set off, and then you totally flip into race mode, and then I kind of get through it, have these scary moments, get to the end, think, "What are you doing? You could have
just
woken
not
up."
Enjoying it.
Well, I kind of was, and I was scaring myself, but at the end I was thinking, you could now be in Kirkcaldy A&E thinking, what are you doing? So I think I just got to every now and again have a chat with myself. As much as I love bikes and love riding bikes and like going quite fast, I don't, because when you get in a grid, then I don't know any other way.
Would you still have the same attitude as what you had with that last race if you weren't the Niall Mackenzie we knew now? If you were still club racing, it didn't quote unquote succeed.
Yeah. 100%. I get why all these old boys want to keep going, because it's buzz, just getting ready, going to the race and have the crack with all your friends and enjoying it and enjoying riding the bikes, and win, lose or draw, they have the crack. But I'm not one of these, I've got to win everything, because I'm not like that. But I did want to be successful when I sat on a motorbike, and if I wasn't, I wasn't happy. But in the process, I have to give 100%, and that involves riding right in the edge and risking getting injured, and everything. My body still works and seems okay, but probably not ideal to be throwing myself down the road anymore at 62.
The embodiment of commitment. There's only two ways. You're either in or you're out, and it's
like being with a psychologist. Being with you kind of you're unraveling me, and that's so true. So true.
I'm not being funny. I said this before. 7 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock now. On your drive, sitting across a man who is gone and still is further than I am. I'm just.
Yeah,
it's
100%.
I'm picking and choosing what I want to say here, and I'm. It's just.
I think it is black and white. I think it is that simple. You're there. Yeah. So I just don't keep telling myself, don't put yourself there, and you won't get hurt. But if you do, there's a chance that you'll regret it.
But that's an honest answer. You know what I mean? But it's like for you, it was a switch.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you. Just touching on that point, when you said about how you stepped away from it quite comfortably, you got to the end of the year and in 2000.
Yeah, I had it. Yeah.
Do you know what? This is what I want to do, and you were able to do it with no regrets.
Yeah.
How were you able to support Taylor in walking away from it? Because I spent a lot of time with him when we did the Triumph launch, and we were talking about, and he was poorly, he was this intolerance to eggs and onions and all of this that all disappeared when he finally and that went on for years, struggling with these illnesses that was all obviously stress related. Like, as his dad, you must have sort of thought, fucking hell.
Well, I wasn't aware of it. I kind of separated. He had these intolerances and things, and I was stupidly didn't relate it to racing, because he's always, like Taz, he's always been 100% committed to making it happen financially, training, doing everything, doing the right thing with sponsors. He's never wavered from that. He's had a format, so he's like totally committed all the time. And all these things were going on that I didn't think was a problem, but obviously inside he suspected there might be. But if he had said at any point, not feeling this, Dad, maybe you should have a rest, then I would have been 100% behind that as well. And he had a really tough seasons now and again, and all in my head was like, you want to go again? Yeah. I said, well, I said this at the end of a lot of seasons, if I didn't think you had the potential to be successful and go all the way, then I would tell you right now, and I'd look him straight in the eye and say that. I'd tell you now, but I am 100% behind you, because I think you got
the potential to do this, kid.
Keep going, go as far. You need lucky breaks, and Tassie's career has just been a little bit more straightforward. Some of it has been because we learned with all Taylor's mistakes, and Tassie's career is just he's been through some tough times, but there was never any pressure. Just keep this going, just in case it works. It was like, yeah, it will work if you just need a run.
But he never confided in you that I don't think I want to do this.
No, I knew. We knew that he was stopping, and he was going to stop at Donington. But he'd obviously been thinking that a lot longer before he told us. But even that year, it was a Michael Rutter, great team.
Yeah.
The Batham's team, they were really supportive. Michael couldn't have been any more supportive. He's brilliant with Taylor, and that season when everything was right, he was right at the front, and he's still in his head. And last race he won from the back of the grid.
That race with Billy,
and you think that, I mean, that was the ultimate test, and it couldn't have been a better test for him and for everyone else. And he's never regretted it. But he said, yeah, as soon as I won that race, come back, and you'd think, oh well, yeah, won, yeah, we'll go again. Let's go again, because then there was still lots of teams were keen to have him for the next year, and they were like, "You sure you're stopping?" And yeah, I'm done, and I've got no problem with it. And it was that easy. So in some ways, he's really, really fortunate, because there's guys 40s, 50s, and 60s never get over it. But yeah, incredible. And I haven't seen anything like that. At a much higher level, I guess, Casey Stoner, and I didn't get that, because name his price, be on the best bike in the world and still winning. Why wouldn't you do it? But obviously he's got his own reasons, had his own reasons, but I couldn't get my head around that. You can't when you're obsessed with racing. But Taylor, I understood these were really close and a brilliant relationship. So, but yeah, massive respect that he chose to do that.
Has your obsession for motorcycles changed?
No.
So, with that being your answer, at 39, you said, look, I'm not giving me 100% anymore, and racing's feared you.
Yeah.
What was life for you at that point?
Yeah, well, I didn't have a plan. What I did find was, when I started racing, nothing else interested me in the motorcycle world. In the world of biking. I was aware of bikes, but racing, I loved riding, prepping in the early years and doing my thing. When I stopped racing, didn't want to race anymore, suddenly I was like, I love road bikes and racing and the roads and everything. I was always aware of what was going on in other championships, because I am a massive fan, and still am. Was a massive fan, so I was aware of what was going on in the world of racing. But outside that, I wasn't too interested in riding road bikes or the road or anything. But the day I stopped racing, I went, oh man, there's a whole new world out there.
You could enjoy the industry.
To explore, yeah. I had no plan as far as work or anything. I basically just thought, I'm going to stick my hand up for anything that's on offer, which I did, and then see where that goes, because I still had to work and pay bills and stuff. So, but I was lucky enough that my life within the world of motorbikes kept going.
At 39, did you have kids at that point?
Yes, yeah.
Were kids an influence on that 100%?
Yes, I think so, because they were young. Taylor was getting on 7, Taron was 5, and I thought, from the day they appeared in this world, a brilliant relationship. I love them as babies. I'm lucky enough that it was really good fun growing up, and I thought, I enjoy this. The racing was okay because they'd come with us, but they were starting school, and then so we had more responsibilities in that area, and it just made sense to
I had 20 years, I had an amazing 20 years of racing, and I thought that was a good number.
That's an outstanding number.
The reason I made the definite decision to stop was I kind of thought about it. I had a big off at Cadwell Park with the throttle stuck open at a gooseneck. I was beat up, but it was all right, and I thought, no matter how safe I can make this, there's still a chance I could wipe myself out here. And I'd never thought that before, but I asked two people that weekend that I knew that had retired, Mick Grant and Roger Bennett. I asked them both, how did they know to stop racing? And they both said, asked them independently, they both said, the fact you've asked that question means you're ready to stop racing, because you never do. Like we talked before, you're either totally obsessed or you're not. He said, you've asked the question, and if you've never asked it before, then chances are you're ready to stop. And I said, yeah, you're right, I'm ready to stop.
So was it was the drive home from Cadwell where you'd sort of gone, this is enough for me then?
Yeah, and not in a particularly sad way. I was Neil Hodgson's teammate with the GSE team at the time. Colin Wright was team manager, and I think I rang him the next day. I said, I think I'm going to just call it a day at the end of the season. He says, mega, let's do our best to get Hodgie to win the championship. Well, a big party at Donington. That was the last round, and big celebration, and
so there's no pressure from
nothing
external sources.
No, nothing at all. I was just told the relative press, and that was it. And my most famous moment in the whole of my career was I was driving to Scotland after I had said I was stopping racing, and on Radio 2, Johnny Walker on a lunchtime news bulletin mentioned that British Superbike rider Niall Mackenzie was retiring. Fair play. Must be retiring then. So I got a mention on Radio 2.
I've made it. Put it in reverse. We're going back.
Well, it's unheard of, isn't it? To get motorbikes don't get mentioned on mainstream radio, do they? So yeah, must have done something right.
So yeah, Roger Bennett was actually did the PR for GSE that year, and I think he was well connected. So anyway, they probably a clue who I was, but I got a mention, and I thought, well, I can't actually back out now. It's been on Radio 2.
Johnny Walker's sent me down the river. Simple as that.
What point did you see the lads and think, oh well, we'll set on down this path with you two?
Yeah, well, that I was embarrassed into that by a friend, because
that's a hell of a friend who embarrassed you. That might.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing though. He knew what he was doing. He's a guy called Alan McIntosh, and Alan McIntosh ran Macintosh Mini Moto Championship in Scotland, Macintosh Mini Motos. So he imported Pellinis and did an amazing job for lots of kids over the years in Scotland. So I was in Brno in the Czech Republic one year, and they were selling these shit Chinese mini motos. So chucked a couple in my van. They're like 100 quid each or 100 euros each. Brought them back. They sat in the garage for a while, and we went up to Colne, which is a little indoor track, one Saturday near Burnley, because there was some mini moto practicing on, and I took our shit like mini motos, Taz and Taylor, and fired them up and set them off, and so everyone's there with their blatters and Pellinis, which are the bollocks, and then my two Mackenzie kids were on the shit embarrassing bike. They didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. So, but the other people knew who I was, so they went round and round, put them in the van, and we had a good time. They didn't go very fast, and we went home. My mate Alan McIntosh rang me next week, Pellini importer from Scotland, said, "Oh my God, you're so embarrassing. You were at Colne at the weekend with the shittiest bikes, embarrassing your kids, yourself. I'm sending you a proper mini moto, and don't use these again in public." So he sent me this Pellini. I actually thought it was Taylor was there. Then he rang me a couple of days later. He says, "The other lad was there as well, and he was on one as well." "Yeah, I'll send you another one." Chuck these things in the bin and just ride these Pellinis. So I felt he sent me these bikes. I think, to be fair, he was given a few demo bikes to do what he wanted with, so he very kindly sent me them. But he knew what he was doing, because I felt obliged then to start. We were living down here, started going to Scotland doing these mini motor races, and the first outdoor one, because we chucked them in the car basically. I said, okay, we'll go and ride them, cheap as chips, crash them, nothing breaks, £5 for fuel,
45 quid for your entry fees on that.
Yeah, back home, everyone's a winner. So that was fine. We did that a couple of times, and then one weekend we were at an outdoor meeting and the rain came, and I thought, they're on slicks, and
And so I talked to some of the other parents. Said, "Yeah, well, we got spare wheels and wet tires and all kinds of different things for their wet." And I, totally against my best instincts, got my credit card up, and I was up to Alan's van. Give me everything I need to ride in the wet, because this is
4 wheels.
So he went ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. You get the bill in the week. I said, "Don't care, just get."
Had big windows on the van when he saw you walking up like that.
So yeah, I mean, I did keep things to minimum, but that was we started for fun, just thinking it'd be a bit of a laugh. They had the Pee-wee in the garden, as everyone did, and that was it. And the racing thing started there, then I would keep asking them, are they enjoying it? Do you want to do it? And like we said earlier about having a passion, they were then obsessed with it. That meant good school work. They go to school, they do their homework, do everything in the house. So I had them. If ever they didn't want to do it, then we were stuffed. But they desperately wanted to go racing. So the deal was that they did the right thing in the rest of their lives.
Here's a random question for a dad. What was the pressure like on you? Now, as two young kids, they have no idea of the world. You know what I mean? It's like, we're off riding about it, but then everyone's nudging each other going, there's Niall Mackenzie. And then immediately, this is exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Let's keep an eye on them too.
Yeah.
And then
you're in a mad market. It's locking down as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No, but what was that like for, you're talking the nobility of it.
Yeah.
Let's go out and have fun. You know what I mean? This is my passion. These are my kids. I love my kids. I love bikes. Let's put this together. Very noble intention.
Yeah.
And then you're running up with a credit card.
Yeah.
And on the drive home, don't tell your mother.
Yeah. No, she was
She was with a credit card. Get them.
Yeah, she was a pit crew. She were very lucky, because she always just went with it. But she'd keep me in check, but she was, luckily she gets racing, and so she was all right with all of that.
But the pressure on you as a dad with your kids racing, was there? Did you feel any? Yeah.
There were not.
I have turned into a shrink, haven't I?
Yeah,
this is terrible.
I wanted them to enjoy it, but I was definitely spent all weekend rushing around, because they eventually kind of were doing 2 classes, rushing around. You're putting fuel in them.
Did you have them a Proddy and a 4.2?
Yeah, a 4.2 and a 6,
7.5, 7.5.
Yeah, we had tailored to the beginning. Yeah. So
like you say, you've doubled your workload.
There's so many races. You're flipping out and fill out with fuel, check the clutch, back in, check tyre pressures, and what in different classes, and basically just a madness all day long. And you get in the van and driving home, and I goes, "What? I can't even remember what happened." So it was. No, mostly was about, certainly mini moto years. It was, which was a couple of years, was just purely fun. And you get a bit of a buzz. If you could see them, they're getting a hang of it and going a little bit better, and they would kind of drag themselves along, because everyone's pretty much on the same bike. So the progression was satisfying. They didn't need to win. I just wanted them to enjoy it and see that they're making progress, and they looked okay on the bikes. And
did you ever have the parent? Do you remember the first time as a parent where you went, "Fuck, now I get what I put my mum through"? Did you ever can you remember the first time one of the lads had a big crash and you thought...
He hasn't seen his mum since his night. He went off to America.
No, but now we were talking about before, as a parent, you never understand it until your own...
Yeah.
I've told this story before. My little girl, we got her electric throttle bike and she had a massive crash New Year's Day last year. Face went into a post and it was a right mess. And that was the first time I went, fuck, that's what it feels like.
Yeah. Well, we both experienced it at the same time, and it wasn't mini moto, and Taylor started riding 125, and we went to Cartagena to track day beginning of 2008 it would be. So he had a good run round, and the last session, the last day, he's out in his 125, and me and his mum were standing up on top of the garage, he's looking down. And for some reason, I was friends before and I'm friends with him now. Craig Fitzpatrick was out there on his 600, he was flying around, and I could see him catching Taylor, and he just misjudged something. My opinion was it's just, these things happen all the time. Misjudged something, wiped him out. He ended up in hospital with a broken collarbone. And before we got to hospital, I my one and only time I flipped And I was like, because he was coming in after that, I was freaking down the stairs, I was running down the pit lane entry. I was running out, I was nearly out on the track, running the wrong way around, waiting on him. And anyway, coming in, it's like, anyway, you can't even remember what I went, absolutely not me at all, never done it before or since. And I apologised to him after. I rang him on the way home, probably that night. But it was just like one of these. I don't know if you've read the chimp paradox. When one of them. Just
it went out the box. No leash, no nothing.
No warning, whatever. The chimp was flipping, just took control. I was a passenger. I was hijacked. So anyway, it all happened at the same time. We realised then, oh my God, we've done them anymore. That's all fun. They fall off. Blah blah blah. Now we're on big tracks. Your own flesh and blood, and you realise you're programmed to look after your kids, not give them dangerous things to do. Your own flesh and blood. So it was at that point. Also at that point, we realised there's actually no going back because they're totally addicted. We've taken them this far, and there's no way they're not.
Even though he's sat in hospital with a broken collarbone, he's still smiling, and he wants to go back.
Yeah, he's all right. Yeah, and every time they got injured, well, not long after that, and we had the conversation with both of them. Look, this can be dangerous. They've both been injured. They've both been hurt. They've both been through pain. It's going to happen numerous more occasions. It can be really dangerous. It can be really dangerous. Yeah. And I don't know if they'd rehearsed it. That we know all of that. We want to. Let's just go for it. Prepared to take the risk. Let's just not even think about it and go for it. And so we, young as they were, we kind of grown up conversations, and we reminded them quite a lot. But and always when they were, I don't know, in hospital, are you sure that you want to keep? Yeah. Let's just get fixed up and go. So there was never any. There was always a get out clause.
Oh, bollocks to it! He was walking down the hall going, "My boys."
Yeah.
We said we'd before
get
this,
the Scottish flag, darling. Drape the boy.
We said we'd try not to talk too much about the boys, but I think it's incredible. I think it's rare that we're going to get an opportunity to speak to a dad who's been at your level.
Yeah.
But you're now you're now in the fortunate position where your children have not only followed in your footsteps, you're able to do the journey with them, which is an amazing thing. And I think it's going to be a rare thing for people in your position where you've been able to been there and done it, and you can sit there and think.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It doesn't get any easier. I was talking to someone the other day, and the whole the what it's like. It's the weirdest thing, because a normal family in their life might get a knock on the door or a phone call at some point, say, your kid's been in an accident. They're okay, but they're in hospital, they're beat up, and that's horrendous for any family. When you're a racing parent, and there's thousands of us, you're watching it live, and you're watching lap by lap live, and then something goes wrong, you've been seeing it live. You're not like getting the news gently broken to you. It's push. There you go, and so you have to deal with it. You guys know more than anyone, but it's a weird world we live in, and that's what makes it interesting, exciting, scary, dangerous. It's that element of it. When you've got a sport, there's an element of risk to your health. It adds a different element. It is weird, but
massively. I tell you what, I must ask. From the early days of Minimoto, is being a champion of your level, your son's levels, is it genetic or environment?
Yeah, nurture or nature. I'm going to say nurture, but
you had a very different upbringing.
Nurture, but obviously I've observed my two, and they
can pedal bikes, Neil. They
can ride motorbikes.
That's putting it very modestly. They can pedal motorcycles.
They can ride motorbikes. What they are good at is they observe everyone else racing, whether it be on TV or MotoGP or World Superbike, and have done from an early age, of riding styles, how they ride, what they do, and they kind of totally obsessed with all of that, and down to, I don't know, what riders' helmets and boots the way they can tell, and results and lap times, and kind of take it all in. With some riders just think about their own thing, do their own thing. But I think, I think it's nurture. I believe they've got to have the desire,
Yes,
and the interest and the excitement. And I suppose they're born with that, or they grew up with that. And I don't think it's genetic. That I think it's just the fact they grew up with it, and they could feel the atmosphere in paddocks and the excitement and the buzz and the winning and the losing and all of that. So the kind of all of that was probably came early on, but the actual physical feat of riding, I think it's kind of getting a feel for it, and then watching everyone else and watching everything and taking in all the information around them, and then translating that into some lap times.
Do you think it's benefited them having each other?
Well, like that.
Do you think that if they'd have if for argument's sake, Taz has done it without Taylor?
Yeah. In a different way to some brothers, not in a competitive way, because most brothers, like the Lowe's brothers, best mates, but super competitive with each other. Most brothers or siblings are.
They're best mates, them two.
And they're best mates, and they're more the help they get from each other is support, really. Not kind of call it'll be all right, just support, genuinely wanting each other to do well and giving the pat on the back when they do well, and helping them when they don't, and getting them through things, and they'll go to the end of the earth for each other. So that just springs into mind. Taylor retired, went to Spain to train, and went to Taz. He gets spanned in the first day he's there, and Taylor's pushing him around the wheelchair for 2 months. So that was his introduction to retirement. But yeah, that's the kind of that's where they support each other, as opposed to some brothers are really successful because they're totally driven to be better than the other one.
Did you ever witness anything between the two of them where you sat back as a dad and didn't say anything, but you thought, I'm fucking proud of you for that? Do you know? Did you ever witness Taylor put an arm around Taron, or likewise Taron go to Taylor, and you sit there and think,
yeah,
wow, I didn't need to step in as dad there.
I can't think of individual events, but there's lots of pictures we've had over the years, and one's got their arm around the other, whether they're it's maybe on TV or a still picture of something, and it's genuinely glad each other's done well. There's never been any animosity, and I can count in one hand the moments I've had in the whole lives with each other. So that's where the support comes. But the competitive things between brothers is also a massive incentive to do well and improve and push, just in a different way.
Have you watched the Marc Marquez documentary on Amazon called All In?
I haven't seen that, no.
That's in that. It's a 5-part documentary from 2022, I think it is. Yeah. And it's after, going through the arm operation he had, and they interview his dad, and he said one rule that was always sort of given to me by Mark was, you're welcome to, because he drives the motorhome to the rounds for the two of them, and he's the dad has the agreement that he's allowed in the garage. Yeah, he can talk to the mechanics on a personal level, but you do not get involved in anything. You don't say your opinion. You don't start shouting your mouth off. You don't get and he says it's quite hard as a dad, because there's times I want to go. Yeah, and I guess your situation, you're even more so. You're entitled almost to say something, because you actually nothing. What comes out your mouth is backed with bit of experience. You've been there and done it. You got the t-shirt, and all right. I know that times have changed when it comes to the bikes, but the principle's very much the same.
Yeah, I've always treaded carefully with that.
It must be hard for you though.
Yeah, it is hard, because I also got to tell myself times have changed, and their own men, particularly now, or when they started getting on with their careers. But you learn a lot as well, because quite early on in Taylor's career, we're at Spanish Championship, and I was out spotting Mad Mark was running around every corner, every lap. You've probably seen how did he get there in one lap, but anyway, and so I learned this early on. It was 2010. It was Spanish Championship end of the year, and he was flipping the wrong gear at a corner at Jerez. And
here comes the banner.
Yeah,
big anchor with a W on it. There you are.
I think I had a push bike at the time, so I'm sprinting around the service road. It was the end of the session, and I'm going to get back, and just tell him. And so he gets back in the garage. He sits down. He's talking to the mechanic. I let him finish, and I started ranting on about being the wrong gear, wrong corner, and he says, "Dad, don't come in telling me what I'm doing wrong. Come in, have a chat with me, and tell me what might help." And I went, "Oh shit!" And it was like one of these an epiphany or one of these
light
moments.
bulb moment.
I went, I better go outside and have a chat with myself here. And it was brilliant because he sorted me out. I was filling up as he's telling me, and I went out and went, all right, yeah, that's a good idea. And yeah, it's one of these things like observing dads. I observed myself, and if you can get your head around that and learn, and they've taught me lots as well. So I tread carefully. I might just chuck something in, not tell them anything. If ever saying it'll be an observation, or he's in a different gear, or he's a bit wider there, or he's doing this, or whatever. A suggestion, but do what you want with it. Take it. And
Have you ever had a team ask your advice?
yeah, teams have been good, and same. I'll always wait till debriefs are finished, and I'll always try and develop decent relationships with, because they're in a team. The suspension guy's best at suspension, the tyre guy's there, your crew chief knows what he's doing, the chassis mechanic, so everybody's got the data guys there, so they've all specialised in their own thing, so there's no way that I know everything. So and for each other as well, they've got their own department that they specialise in, so I always try and develop relationships with these people firstly as a friend, and they obviously, and just let them talk to me really, and then you have to build a relationship where you get to a point where you can talk about it, and they're open and they want to tell you, and then so generally that's been okay with pretty much every team they've been with, but I tread carefully, especially early on as I'm getting to know people. With McCams it's fine, same people for 5 years, but
because am I right in saying you carried on with McCams after Taz won the championship?
Yes, I did a kind of job there for a number of years, just kind of MC in the hospitality, little bit of spotting. I kind of carried on helping Tim Neve earlier in the year when he joined, I kind of immersed myself into that, trying to do the best.
That's such a shame that didn't work for Tim, because when that knock ill yet again on a test, wasn't it?
Just very difficult chain of events there, and difficult. Taz was, well, he won the championship in year 4, but you need 4 years to do that. It's not going to happen, whatever class you come from. So, yeah, unfortunately, because Tim's a massive talent, massive respect to Tim, and just as a human being as well, he's brilliant, and massive bollocks to do what
he's a right nice lad as well, isn't he? Oh, proper sound lad. Because
you've been obviously invested in your own kids, do you find it easier to work with someone else's kid?
Yeah.
Would you say you're tougher on someone else's? Another athlete. It is someone else's kid, don't get me wrong.
The thing is, they're the same age as your kid as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
But, for example, you know what I mean? If I've said, look, I need your help. Would you say you'd be tough? Well, I'm a little shit, but you would be tough on me. But you know what I'm saying?
I'd be black and white, and whereas it's your own son, you understand his personality and how to say things. But so it's definitely different. But there's your kids, and then there's everyone else. But I'd be confident, but I'd be black and white, and in a nice way. And quite often it is suggestions or asking your opinion. What do you think about this, rather than this is what you do, because everyone's different. But different. Because it is different dialogue.
Because the thing is, like, it's sport, and sport is ferocious, isn't it? And the thing is, if you're at a level, especially that level, the British Superbikes and Worlds and everything, you can't afford not to be black and white. You know what I mean? That the edge is only getting sharper, not duller. It's like, look, son, either that or that.
Have you ever had have the lads always been transparent with you about possible opportunities, or have you always been sort of in a managerial role with them? Or have they made their own deals and then told you after the fact.
No, they've all everything's.
Don't ride a Suzuki.
No, everything.
There's a bit of history with me there.
Well, yeah. Well, I did ride the Suzuki again in my best season ever in GPs, but so that just goes to show you. No, yeah, everything's always been transparent, and again, sometimes I'm thinking this would be a good thing to do, and they would tell me why it's not, and that's then it's up for discussion. And it's not like, no, you're doing this, and because I think it's the best thing to do, because 9 times out of 10 they're right anyway. Taron, through his career, has been undecided about things, and I've kind of made decisions for him which seem from the outside probably wrong, but I think overall proved he was too little to get in a stock 600 at the time, but it was the right thing to do. He wasn't sure. I thought, yeah, it's the right thing to do, and got his superbike, not sure, but I felt in my gut feeling it's the right thing to do. Trust me, in this one it'll be all right.
Yeah.
And close friends and experienced people in the paddock have kind of disagreed sometimes with what I think's maybe been best, especially with Taron's concerned. But so far it's been all right. Now he's very much knows what he wants and what he does, and but yeah, there's been a few occasions where I've said, "Nah, this is don't have to do it," but if I think you should just do it.
I'm your dad. Get on with it. They are simple as that. I'm just like, where do you think, and forgive me for asking this, how far do you think Taylor could have got if he carried on?
Yeah, Taylor, like I said, trains, commitment, everything through all the adversity, same as Taron, and there's always it's a flipping minefield, and there's always potential for the amount of riders that make it are tiny compared to the license holders every year. It's so difficult, as you know, in this world. All the way is the answer, all the way, because fitness, natural talent, but some of the career decisions we've made for him have probably not been right. We've been full agreement at the time that that's what he should do, but he's got on the wrong superbike at the wrong time. He's got injured at the wrong time.
Unfortunately, in this game, and yet again, this is labelled in sport, but sometimes you just need lady luck to knock down the door at the right time.
Motorbike racing is the
pinnacle of that, isn't it? You know what I mean? But it just shows when you've got all the ingredients, you still need that door. Yeah. You know what I mean?
What you don't need is bad luck. It's avoiding the bad luck. Yeah. I mean, Taylor was in Grand Prix in 2011. Finished 5th in his second GP in Jerez, and on paper it looked like he'd go all the way. There's one of these seasons we paid absolute fortune, and it was, what was promised and what was delivered, two different things. The 125 championship was a mess then, but you just you commit with everything. Everyone was really excited, and then you kind of regroup and go again, and then seasons come along like 16 where suddenly he's on a great bike with the Hickens and the Bill-based BMW, and he romps to championship win, and no one saw that coming. Never ridden a stocker before, and then it's just hitting the sweet spot, getting everything right, the right people, the right bike, avoiding bad luck. But his potential and Taron's potential exactly the same in my eyes, But that's a case of kind of sliding doors, and you can see the two side by side, and one works out and one doesn't. But
I think we have to ask. Probably deemed as a bit of a controversial decision, Taron's move after winning the championship. Some people said, "Well, why is he doing that? Why is he? Would he not be better?" Obviously, he got a win, didn't he?
That was I tell you what, the whole world glued to that telly like that. No way.
And I think you guys have been.
You grabbed Lady Luck and punched her in the face.
Well, you've been quite honest about how you knew that it wasn't going to be the most competitive package, and Taron, bless him, he's taken it all in his stride and been very. he's probably been in a position where he's well within his rights to say,
yeah,
and he's kept super professional.
Yeah.
He's never slagged anything.
Yeah.
It's not been an easy year last year.
Yeah.
Do you still think that decision to go down the route that he's gone down is the right one? And
100%. Yeah, he was on a competitive superbike for 5 years, a bike that was capable of winning every year. So then to suddenly jump on, well, he wanted a new challenge. What he signed up for was everything that he got, which was an uncompetitive bike. Sometimes it was going to be unreliable, probably wasn't going to win anything. And so Midori Moriwaki made him a promise that it was going to be tough. So there was no one was under any illusion. What is difficult is the reality when you are trying to get through it, because it's probably breaking down early on more than he thought. It was less competitive than he thought it would be, because he thought he could probably make out. It was never going to be that bad, but it wasn't great, because he's on a fairly stock CBR 500. But so the goal was, his long-term goal was to stay in the paddock somehow, super sport or superbike, ideally being superbike with the potential to build a relationship with another manufacturer. So every box he ticked. Midori Moriwaki also said, if you stick with us and try hard, pretty sure I'll get you on a superbike in 24, and I'll get you to the Suzuki 8-hour race as well. So she delivered everything and more. So it was, but we had that feeling. You never really know in racing. It's a tough old world. But we shook hands on the deal with Midori in Valencia end of 22, and we knew it was going to be tough. But he was in the World Superbike paddock and hopefully going to start again. And it was a massive sacrifice on every front. Could have stayed in BSB, paid lots of money and won races, and maybe they go to another championship. But he could also got injured and then lost and it was the one and only chance to get in that paddock. And he said, I'll take whatever is going as long as I'm in the paddock. And that was it. There was do that or BSB. So
Mega.
So he took it, and he was hoping maybe one day everything would line up, and it did. So but it was tough, and so many times on a Sunday night or a Monday, if I wasn't at the racing, I'd get a message, I'm broken, I'm completely and utterly over this and broken. And I think, okay, well, talk to you Tuesday. And Tuesday, what are you doing? I'm going out for a pedal. I'm back on it. I'm back. Some days it was Tuesdays, some days it was Wednesdays, but it broke him a few times.
But it's a fair test of character, like that's. It was good, but there's little things just kept him going. Quite early on in the season, Midori said, can you go and test in Suzuka? So he went there, he tested the factory bike, which was a dream. He says the bike was amazing, got to learn Suzuka. I was commentating on Suzuka.
Oh, yeah. Of course you were.
Yeah, it was mega to see, because he didn't even think he was going to get to ride.
No, so he got a couple of trips, and he impressed the HRC's weird history of repeating himself. He loved the track straight away, clicked with it at the test, and then so they said
his times were good as well, eh?
His testing went really well, and then so HRC said they gave him a little contract. They said, we'll take you to the race, I'd like you just to watch how it all operates. You won't be riding, but you can have a look, and then hopefully in the future you get an opportunity. But for him, that was he was on holiday basically with Leon Cami, that was the plan. But he got there on Tuesday, and there's the opportunity with the FCC team. They didn't know who he was from Adam, but
did they not?
No. So Fujio, HRC said, Taz is here, he's our spare rider. Do you want to test him? And they said, no, we'll let him have a run round. So, because he didn't, so it was one of these, just fate. So they let him have a test on the Wednesday, and pretty much matched his teammates' times. Mark D'Amiglio and
Josh Hook. Josh was injured, wasn't he?
No, it was French kid.
Alan Tesher.
Yeah, Alan Tesher. So they said,
Straight out the box.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the most impressive things he's ever done, really, for me, because he
you're not allowed to change anything on the bike, as you know. He'd never seen the bike before. Team was brand new. He couldn't change a lever, foot peg position, anything, and he rode round.
Especially when you're coming in as like the fourth man. It's like, if you don't like it, don't fucking.
No. So he had to, but he's give it his all, and he knew the track. So then straight away they went, yeah, let's go. And then they ended up finishing third. So it was so he had the best week ever, and it's little things like that opportunities. If he'd been BSB, that was never happening. So little things that just helped.
Well, in my opinion, I think BSB, in my opinion, is always going to be an open door for him. He's delivered. Yeah. He's a poster child of the country. Yeah. Which is great. And I think, yet again, just my opinion, he is doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Stay out there, keep working at it, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. But I tell you what, we've diversed. I've got one final question before we dive. Well, I've got two actually, but before we go into the patrons. But what was on your bucket list that you didn't tick off, or have you ticked them all off?
Apart from winning something, I'm very, very. I had a huge bucket list. 8 hour was one. I managed to finish second at 8 hour, which was.
I haven't won anything. Just podiumed everything.
One better than Taz. Remind them of that every day.
I'm still head of the table.
No,
when you got back from Suzuka, did you have your trophy sat there? so he came in the front door to it.
Aye, come in the living room, son. You see that?
I didn't get my trophy.
Did you not?
Gutted. No, one thing OMG, he's got his trophy. I didn't get my trophy. So, I don't know where it flipping disappeared to. Some fan must have run off with it. But
I hope they listen to the podcast.
Get it back. I didn't win any 500 GPs. I had a few podiums, so very happy with that. I was lucky enough to race at Daytona.
I was going to ask you if you'd ever done Daytona.
A massive crash at Daytona, but I used to sort of see all these races as a kid, or when you're a fan and everything, and just imagine trying to be there. So, no, nothing in racing really, apart from obviously you always want the results to be better, I think.
Well, the road's never a draw.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because that's the only other area it seems you didn't do.
Only because I could well have ended up. I'm lucky enough with quite a few good runs at the Northwest. A couple of podiums at the Northwest.
So you are a roads man.
So I get it. Totally get it. When I started racing, and my friends were involved in this group, if you kind of the big thing was to get to the Manx then, which was in September. So if you go to the Manx and do well, then you go to the TT. So I never had the funds to go and do that, so I just was doing the short circuits that I could. But friends around me, Steve Islop included, that's where they'd go. They go to the Manx. So I could ended up there. And I guess if you get into that system, then your big goals is the TT, and it's amazing. But love going, watching, enjoy everything about it. Just incredible, as we all know, but never got there. But at one point, did
you have it? That's what I said. Did you have the itch? Sat on the side of the road going,
100%.
And you totally get it as well, because you've done the Northwest.
Totally
you understand that, because a lot of road races short circuit road races, they don't get it, and they go, I don't understand why you'd want to do that.
Well, if they rode round, they would, and I got to a point where I was kind of past thinking, I need to have a go at this, because I was stopped racing and I didn't get it so much, but I was lucky enough to do some parade laps, and then, like we talked about, forgetting a bike on a race bike, and I'm like, totally get this, riding round, my minuscule knowledge of the Isle of Man, riding round there, and just absolute buzz. I totally get it, and everything, the distractions or what people don't get just goes out the window, because you're riding a bike and you're in the main road. It's just amazing there.
And no regret not doing it.
No, because maybe 20 years ago I would have had the regret, but now I'm thinking, I know how I would have been. I wasn't reckless. I didn't ever crash at Northwest 200. I went 3 times, and I did quite a lot of little road races in Europe in between my GPs.
He's a roadsman, then. He's a roadsman.
So I get it. So I was safe and accurate and okay, but there's obviously higher risk. So now no regrets. I'm probably
glad because if you go, there's the risk. But that's what we do and what we love. So,
if Taylor and Taz, after the mini motos, 125s, dip round, and you took them to the Isle of Man, and they stood on the edge and said, "I want to do this,"
would it have been a different story?
Possibly, but they kind of went independently on their own anyway and come back and said they didn't want to do it.
No, but what happens if they turn around and flipped it on you? Because you know what I love about this story with you and you're up, and your kids, and it's like at no point you're saying, no, come ask me advice, I'll give it, there you go.
Yeah.
But would that have been...
I think I'd have passed that on to the mother department.
Well, I was just going to say to you, I don't know because that would have landed on you.
It is a kind of democracy in our house, so I would just probably pass it on. Run it past your mother, see what she says, come back, and then we'll make a decision.
Knowing full well that she'd answered it for you.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know Christian Idden's mum, Weed, she says she will lie on the middle of the track in Bray Hill.
Oh, yeah, shoot.
Because he has hinted, but it hasn't happened yet.
Be nickel, I'm scared off. Straight off the bat. And my final question before the patrons, your 100% commitment. You retire at 49.
39.
39. Would you break that code to yourself to go race against Neil Hodgson again?
Yeah, I would. I would, because I know, I mean, he's one of my best mates. And he's very much in the same kind of mindset as me, that when he stopped racing, he's fine and he doesn't get it anymore, and I don't get it, and he doesn't get it. So we'd be at the same wobbly, stupid level and probably quite safe, but yeah.
It would not be safe. Do not kid yourself.
I think you just egg each other.
I think that, yeah.
Turn one, looking at each other like
possibly.
that.
Have you never raced the little bikes around the garden with him?
Yeah.
That's only looking like
a
tip of the iceberg, isn't it?
He was sitting here, he'd say that I'm dangerous and the chimp's riding the bike. So it's a bit like Mad Mark, some kind of alter ego, but I've got this other person that rides
when the helmet goes on.
More, but I can ride for fun, love riding on the road, ride really steady, never go fast on the road and thoroughly enjoy it. But race someone when you're supposed to do better than the next guy, then someone takes over.
Is Neil your deal breaker? Your 100% came out. We're talking the chimp is out the box.
We're saying if we 100%. Can get Neil to do something, can we drag you into it?
Who would that race be? Who would that, like, you know what I mean? Let's talk the front, like, would it be Neil Hodgson? Would you release the chimp for Neil?
Not in a bad way, but I think
his legs twitching. His legs twitching.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes because I think he'd be scared. I think he'd be knowing, because I've done quite a lot of little mini bike off-road stuff with him.
That new sports bike class hasn't got an age limit, has it?
No, let's get it done. So. Right. Before the patrons, who would win that race?
I'm going to say him.
Oh, right.
Because my red mist and skill these days kind of outweighs his finesse. Because in the garden, I've beaten him numerous times in the garden, but it's just been pure aggression and madness and luck, or give him a bit of a nudge. Whereas if we do super pole laps out there, and he's normally he could go a little bit quicker than me, so he seems to. But I'm good at starts, so I don't know.
He's luring him in for a false sense of security.
You say that you both sit there going, no, we don't get it anymore, but you do super pole laps in the garden.
Yeah, we do all of that.
Brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. Sorry, I'm just reading through the questions here. So, see, a lot of the questions get covered.
While you have a read of them, I have a question for you.
Oh, go for it. Brace. He's even bracing himself for the question. Yeah, I love it.
I've got to ask you how you acquire a new pair of glasses from Tesco's.
It's simple. I discovered that purely by accident because I was at the self-service checkout many years ago.
I can see it.
And self-servicing myself, getting my oat-free milk or oat milk, and I got home and I realised I'd left my glasses, or
you tried to
possibly left my glasses at the self-service bit. So I went back to customer services and I said,
don't suppose anyone's left any glasses. And the lovely lady said, oh, yeah, I've got a drawer here. Have a look in here. She opened this drawer, and when she opened the drawer, it's full of glasses. And my first thought was, I'll never buy glasses again. She goes, do any of these look familiar? I said, oh, let me try. So I tried a couple of pair on, and I got some decent vision. I said, these are the ones. Nothing like the glasses I'd lost.
These Gucci ones.
Well,
they're a bit of me.
Honestly, no, I just kind of, yeah. And I thought, well, anytime I lose my glasses, go to Tesco. Don't suppose anyone's handed in any glasses, because I know there's a drawer full of them.
That is, I'll tell you what, any fans from Ashby de la Zeus area, right?
They're up there tomorrow.
They'll be up there tomorrow rinsing out the drawer. I love it. Absolutely love it. But we've got a cracking question here from Luke. Who was more trouble in school, Taz or Taylor?
I'm going to say we only had one moment and that I can recall, yeah. And that was Taylor. And he was goaded into it, as you do at school. We basically got a letter, and Taylor had been misbehaving in computer studies, and basically someone had told him to Google Penn Island. So if you ever Google Penn Island,
you're in for a shock.
And I've got to say, he's completely innocent. He was, innocent, Taylor, and anyway, didn't upset everyone. So,
I think that's brilliant.
I like that.
Clever, isn't it?
I like that.
I said, you've won what? Yeah, so anyway, we believed his story that someone told him to do it.
Mark Betts, where did the nickname Suds come from?
Spuds. It's Spuds.
Why has he written Suds?
It's Spuds.
He's written Suds, but it was Spuds.
There's a few people call me Spuds. Fred Clark is one of them. And Spuds comes from, in the late 80s, Budweiser in America ran a commercial, and he had a little English Bull Terrier with a black patch, and he was called Spuds Mackenzie. And he surfed, he rode a skateboard, he did all kinds of cool things. So Randy Mamola picked up on this in America, come back. Oh, you are now Spuds. And he brought me all these merchandise, T-shirts, socks, sneakers, hat. So I had all this for a few years in Grand Prix paddock. And so it stuck for some reason. Fred Clark picked up on it. Duncan Vincent, the new BSB commentator, funnily does. There's a few people in the paddock. Journalists have. So that's where Spuds comes from. So
fantastic.
Randy Mamola.
Well, a little bit conscious of time, but we're going to get the final one from the patrons. Rob Pilner. The 80s always looked to be a real fun time as a bike racer. One of my favourite riders of that era was the late, great Kenny Irons.
Yep.
What is your best story of you and Kenny? What's your best 80s story? I'm hoping it's perms and champagne and tits everywhere. That's what I'm hoping for.
I don't know, you might have been... Were you married then?
No, I wasn't. Well, I was married, pre-marriage with Kenny and post-marriage with Kenny. Kenny got killed at Cadwell, unfortunately, in 1987. He actually got the Suzuki ride that I turned down, but Kenny, my favourite story about Kenny is actually he got that Suzuki ride and he got paid quite good money. And being a Scot, I got paid that year as well, and we were good mates. And I said, "Well, I've got some money now. I'm banking it." And he went, "No. I've borrowed. I've spent everything I've borrowed. I've got a house. He had a 944 Porsche, which was a gold car at the time. And he's a southerner. He's from Luton area, and he just spent everything and unfortunately lost his life." And I went, oh my God, what a good lesson that was. There's me being tight and miserable and not spending anything, not turning the heating on, and Kenny's just living the life to the max, which was, so it's right for me and it was right for him.
He's gone through the catalogue here.
We were good friends, but he also didn't mind nicking your girlfriend. So no, well, I didn't know at the time, but he was.
I had a girlfriend 82, 83 time, and what I didn't, and it's normal for the paddock because I was probably doing the same myself. Kenny was snogging her behind my back. That's what you called it back then, snogging. So anyway, we remained. I kind of found out about it, and I split up my girlfriend. Still friends with Kenny. Kind of knew about it, but we never really went there. Anyway, we were in the original Pro-Am series, and in 1983 we were asked to go and do a race in Hockenheim in Germany. So Yamaha UK flew 5 of us out. Me and Kenny were 2 of them. We were walking through Manchester Airport, and I hadn't really seen him since what was happening. And I says, Kenny, I know you were saying
you were stuck at the ex-missus.
Yeah. I says, just, it's not a problem. It's all over. Totally get it. We're all lads. And he went, oh God, he says, it's all right. I says, no problem. No hard feelings. No hard feelings. I says, the only thing that really pissed me off was I had some brand new Nike trainers and I left them at our house, and I never basically wore them once, and I never got them back. He says, that was my biggest regret falling out. And he goes, not these by any chance. And he had them on walking through the airport. And I thought, oh well, no loss what a friend gains. So he flipping stitched me up, my girlfriend, and nicked my trainers. So he had them on.
Absolute gold.
I'm avoiding said girlfriend's name, obviously, just for legal reasons. Yeah. But so we laughed, and then we carried on with our lives.
Oh, that is amazing. That is amazing.
Brilliant.
That is class. I'll tell you what, but thank you so much for all our patrons, which is Luke, Jess, Mark, Craig, Tamu, Alex. Thank you so much for getting these questions in. There's loads, and I'm just very conscious at the time because we're just...
Is it the same day? Are we still in the same day?
I think we're in a different time zone altogether, to be honest with you, on that side of things. But you got any more questions, Joe?
No, I just appreciate you giving it the time. It's brilliant. Thank you.
The worst thing is we're going to leave here and go, we should have asked that. We should have asked that. And there'll be people watching this going, for God's sake, we should have done this.
Next time.
Honestly, Neil, thank you so much. And hold on, before we go, what's 24 looking for? What's your plans this year?
For me?
Yeah, what are you up to?
Things just roll on for me. I do a bit of commentary on the BSB front.
Yeah.
Track day instruction. Silverstone's finished. I've been at Silverstone for a lot of years, but they're having a year off. But I've got a new venture with Taylor. You might know about it. Starting at Mallory this year, which is going to be high-end kind of riding, nice bikes.
Fantastic.
Around Mallory Park. So that'll be launched very soon. So it'll be that. I do my own track days at Knockhill. Mackenzie Hodgson Insurance. If you've got a bike and you want to give us a try,
get it in there. Got to do it.
Get yourself on Google, and just generally nice life work balance. I'll do as many rounds as I can with Taz. Definitely going to do Australia, so that's going to be our holiday in 2024. Go to Phillip Island, watch Taz in February, and just see where it all goes. But there's no hard and fast contracts with me. I just kind of, the phone rings, I say yes, and away I go.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Sounds like a lovely way of life.
Fantastic. Yeah. Right, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we'll catch up with you soon, man.
Thank you very much. Thanks, lads.